Welcome back, everyone. This is the part 2 of our Enoch study. We are going to have Brother Sean going to start chapter 3 of Enoch, so please read along with us if you guys are able. I'm going to put it on share screen so you viewers can see it while we're reading. All right, and take it away, Sean.
Observe and see how in the leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain their old foliage from 2 to 3 years till the new comes.
Again, it's showing the order of things, how things are made a certain way, and that's the way they're meant to be. And it's all in order. Winter, from summer to winter.
What does it mean about except 14 trees?
Those are the evergreens. Which do not lose their foliage.
I know that, but what is so special about it?
Nothing. It's just they don't lose their leaves like other trees. It's part of the order of things.
Yeah, it's like there's a verse in Genesis where it says that Yahuwah created everything according to their kind. So there's like certain differences even within species that for certain reasons he made it so they don't lose their leaves. Probably has something to do with genetics and all that. Probably has something to do with just the way Yahuwah wanted them created. I just find it interesting. It says that from 2 to 3 years till the new comes. So there's even a time period that's very specific. So it's kind of interesting that the old foliage lasts 2 to 3 years until the new foliage comes. So that's pretty interesting.
Winter lasts that long?
It'll last 2 or 3 years.
One winter.
But no, the foliage, the leaves, they'll last 2 or 3 winters until they fall off and the new ones come.
Oh.
So you don't really notice them. It's like our hair. It grows, and it's always falling. You know, hair's always falling out, but you don't see.
I feel it.
Yeah, you don't see the gaps in your hair. You just always have hair. The same with the evergreen.
What about people that start going bald? They notice it.
Well, if you see any trees starting to go bald, I guess they're in trouble.
Well, really, that's something for you to know that evergreen start brown. You know?
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, this is also showing how the earth was back then before the flood. So I always kind of pay attention to stuff like this because it's kind of interesting. It's very possible too that the seasons could have been a little longer back then too, before the flood. I know the earth definitely changed after the flood. You had oxygen was different. That animals shrunk after the flood supposedly. So yeah, there was definitely differences.
Some of the mammals that were on Earth back in the beginning, for instance, Brachiosaurus could not live today because of the reduction of oxygen in the air. There was a lot more oxygen back then. And that's why mankind lived to be almost 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Compared to 100 today.
See, that like in the Bible study that I was in, like we'd always have that big question about where it would say about somebody living so long. Like sometimes it literally says, you know, in his 120 years, but in another time or in another something else, and it'll say like 800 years. And I would always wonder, was it talking about like his whole lineage of family? Was that like, his lineage, like your last name, like in our family, for 200 years there were Rogers? Or is it like specifically saying, okay, this guy lived
It
for...
said when Adam was created and the day Adam died, it was how many years? 900 and something, I think.
Yeah. No, where it says the number of years, it's for a specific person, because you'll see in like lineages, every person has a specific number. Like Enoch had a specific 100 of years, and it kept lowering and lowering after the flood. And actually, what we just read in Genesis 6:1-4, part of the reason we don't live that long anymore either is because of sin. Sin gave a genetic defect.
Right.
That's why Yahuwah said, I won't strive with man forever. His days are 120 years, meaning that literally the expectancy, life expectancy dropped a couple hundred years. So from Adam was like living until almost 1,000, and then after the flood, you had people only living until 120 max. So
yeah, that's what we were asking about. That's what we had a big debate. Was it like the lineage of his family, or did he actually live that long?
He actually lived that long.
I mean, a lot of people, there's no way of it.
Methuselah, 87 years, sorry. 187 years. And he was probably about the...
There's somebody in there that says they lived for like 500 and...
Yeah.
He's 969. Methuselah lived between 969 years.
yeah.
Let me see.
No,
Methuselah lived 900 and his whole life. He lived 969 years. Yeah. I was leaving
You were talking about
something else.
when he brought stuff.
Yeah, because
that's
Methuselah, he was before the flood. So Methuselah is part of that generation that still lived pretty long. Once you had the flood happening, a lot of things changed. Like even the people that were of Noah's generation, like after the flood, you see them having kids that only lived like 400 or 500 years old, and then it kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And nowadays, we barely have anyone living to be 100. I've had family members die at 50 or 60 years old. So I mean, it's getting worse and worse. I think sin has a lot to do with it. Because Yahuwah says himself that sin brought death. Adam, the first man, brought sin into the world, and death followed sin. So without sin, we would be immortal. So
yeah, I think it was like in the news, like maybe a year ago, the oldest person alive was like, what? It was like 119. They died. They didn't even make it to 120, but I mean, he was like 119 years old when they died.
Yeah.
That was recently.
and there's a verse actually in the book of Psalms that says a man's years is 70, 80 by strength. So even back in the days of David, like people weren't living more than like 80 years old. Like so it kept declining. I mean, only now, since we have all this technology keeping people alive, which I don't know how Yahuwah looks at that, to be honest. Like, people being put on, like, dialysis and all that, and people being put on a machine to live longer. I don't know how Yahuwah really looks at that, because it's kind of like you're almost, like, playing Elohim doing that. It's like you're trying to say, oh, we're going to decide how long a person lives and not the creator. And, I don't know. That's just something
when it's your time, it's your time. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's see here. So, Sean,
Oh, he doesn't. Oh, that's right. He doesn't have it.
So, Shoshana, do you want to read chapter 4 or?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Let me just.
And again, observe you the days of summer, how the sun is above the earth over against it, and you seek shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. I can remember running across streets in the heat of summer and it burn your feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you go barefoot.
I see a lot from this little tidbit right here. You see that the sun is 10 times closer than we've been taught. Says that the
Oh,
sun
yeah.
is above the earth, meaning like right above it, against it, and you seek shade and shelter because of the heat of the sun. So my question to evolution and heliocentric believers, the believers in the heliocentric model, how do you get that? Why are we always hot all the time if that's the case? If the sun's millions of miles away, how are we getting like hot summers that are like over 100 degrees? Like if it's millions and millions of miles away from our Earth's atmosphere, not even in the Earth's atmosphere, we shouldn't be feeling the effects of the sun at all then. You know, so that's just something I never got an answer from when I would ask people that, like, how does that make sense? You know, so and how come we can see the sun within the clouds half the time in the sky? You can see it inside the clouds, you know, but man. So but yeah, I remember that too as a kid. Like I would be like playing basketball or whatever, I'd be on like a blacktop and my feet would just be burning. Wow, it's interesting. So let's see here. We got.
Yeah, I can still feel how they felt. Of course, there's that neuropathy, which helps with that.
So Dennis and Sally, you're kind of quiet over there. Anything that struck you with that small chapter?
Over there.
Well, it's always a good review. I wasn't anything really new, but it's very good to review. And so I'm eating my late supper.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So let's see here. I guess I'll read chapter 5. Let's see here. Now we're going to get back to like normal size chapters here, or somewhat normal size. This is about 9 verses. All right. So chapter 5. Here we go. Observe how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit. Therefore give heed and know with regard to all his works, meaning Yahuwah, and recognize how he that lives forever has made them so. And all his works go on from year to year forever, and all the tasks which they accomplish for him, and their tasks do not change, but according to how Yahuwah has ordained, so it is done. And see how the sea and the rivers in the same way accomplish and do not change their commandments from their tasks from his commandments. But you have not been steadfast, nor done the commandments of Yahuwah. Wow, this sounds familiar. But you have turned away and spoken proud and harsh words with your impure mouths against his greatness. O you hard-hearted, you shall find no peace. Therefore you shall loathe your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal loathing. And you shall find no compassion. In those days you shall make your names an eternal loathing unto all the righteous, and by you all who curse shall curse, and all the transgressors and wicked shall loathe by you. And for you, the wicked, there shall be a curse, and all shall rejoice, and there shall be forgiveness of transgressions, and every compassion, peace, and patience. There shall be salvation unto them, a pleasant light. And for all of you transgressors, there shall be no salvation. But on you all a curse shall abide. But for the elect there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. Interesting. And there shall be given wisdom to the elect, and they shall all live and never again sin, either through wickedness or through pride. But they who are wise shall be humbled. Now, that's a very wise verse right there. So we got to be careful as children of Yahuwah not to sin through pride. And me, speaking of experience, that is something I struggle with. But anyway, not trying to ramble. But they who are wise shall be humbled, and they shall not transgress again, nor shall they transgress all the days of their life, nor shall they die of anger or wrath. But they shall complete the number of the days of their life, and their lives shall be increased in peace. And the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life. Now that is the end of chapter 5. So seems like we got a lot to talk about from this chapter. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So I can see why they kept this out of the canon. I can definitely see why they kept this out of the Christian canon. Number one, it's saying that if you continue in sin, you're not going to be saved.
Right.
You sin on purpose. So that's something the Catholic Church doesn't want people to know.
Well, it goes right along with what we learned from Deuteronomy 28. Choose you now, life or death. You know, it's blessings or curses, life or death. Blessings for obedience, curses, and death for not. So, yeah, I mean, it's like black and white.
Yeah. I see a lot of Deuteronomy in this. Their lives shall be increased, meaning
Nobody
that,
else got anything to say? Were you muted, Doug?
No, I shouldn't be muted. I don't see it. Unless you guys can't hear me.
Well, it's like I heard you come in the middle of a sentence, and it sounded like you had been muted before you came in. I don't know.
Oh, all right. Yeah. No, I was just going to comment and say this sounds a lot like Deuteronomy, where it talks about that they will, their days of their life shall increase. So, you know, obedience equals a long life on the land, and Yahuwah says that time and time again.
Long life.
So, yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I could really think of. Oh, wow, man. Wow. Okay. We got only a couple more minutes of this session. So this will have to be continued. We only have about 6 minutes left before we're kicked off. So I hope this study baruch you guys, and we might be coming back tonight. We might not, but stay tuned. We will be continuing this Enoch study at another time. Thank you, all you viewers that tuned in, and hopefully this opened your eyes to exploring the book of Enoch and to explore all the books of scripture like Jubilees, Jasher, the rest of the Apocrypha. And yeah, hopefully, and especially if you're an atheist and you somehow came by us, I would pray and hope that you accept Yahusha as your personal Savior today and allow Him to renew your mind and for Him to cause you to walk in obedience to Yahuwah's laws and His statutes and His commandments, that they are applicable for modern day. So I truly hope that, and thank you for joining us. This is the Awakened by Yahuwah Fellowship Group. Stay tuned for the part 3 of our study at a future date. Shalom.
Oh.